The Astros walk it off in thrilling fashion as Yainer Diaz launches a game-winning homer. Framber Valdez was masterful, tossing a complete game with 9 strikeouts and only allowed 1 run. The energy at Dyken Park was electric as the Astros notch another come-from-behind unforgettable victory. Tell us how it is, Yainer.
Yainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chancey.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome into a special Friday night edition of Locked On Astros. Trev and I were doing a little playback live, and I said, Trev, let's hop on over to Locked On Astros because we know they will be there in just by force. And, you know, tonight the hits didn't really come by force, but it was just enough to win. You know where to find me at Htown Wheelhouse on pretty much all the socials. You know where to find the show on X, Instagram, Facebook, on iHeartRadio, actually on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Subscribe. Trev, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
Well, you can also find me up here in Buffalo, New York. I'm the most out-of-place Houston Astros fan. But if you don't have the luxury of coming to this great city, you can always follow me on Twitter at Trev Hauer, where you're going to get a lot of funny tweets, TREVHAUER, during the games. We celebrate when we win, and we make jokes when we lose. So it's all really, really fun. So tonight, you see what Yainer Diaz does. You saw the introduction of this show. We're going to celebrate the big win. How about that? Nice job, Yainer. Good job, Framber Valdez, too. We'll get into that as well.
Yeah, it was a great night. You know, it was an old-fashioned 1980s pitcher's duel. You know, Yainer was out striking out the other pitcher, but he gave up that one solo shot, that one pitch that wasn't great, but it was a solo shot. It was minimal damage. And, you know, just like the solo shots that Diaz and Altuve hit the game before, those typically don't hurt you or help you in most cases unless you're in a game-winning situation like Yainer was. But we'll get to Yainer in a second. Framber Valdez tonight. The question always has been, Trevor, going into this year, and I think because of last year, recency bias, is which Framber are we going to get on the mound tonight? And you know what he did? He locked in. He had a couple situations where guys got on base, guys were moving around. You know, he had that 4-pitch walk that made it a little scary there when they left him out there in the 9th. But what was it about Framber's stuff tonight that you noticed the most?
It was Framber being Framber. It was the most Framber Valdez game you could ever imagine. Ground ball to short, ground ball to short, ground ball to short, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. Total domination of Danny Jansen, striking out 3 times. What was that, 8 strikeouts for La Grasa tonight? From a ground ball pitcher, that's a hell of a performance right there. Everything was either being shot over to Isaac Paredes' direction, 5-3 put out, 6-3 put out. Oh, a walk here, no big deal. How about a 6-4-3 double play on the very next pitch? This is the Framber Valdez. This is the 2022 Framber Valdez that you saw tonight. The one solo shot, just the second pitch of the game. It was 1-0 forever. It was a weird game. It was Chandler Rome's type of game where this game's flying, 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 flying. We're on pace for the fastest game of 2025. And then all of a sudden the game is tied. And you're like, oh man, we're down to 2 outs here. If Yainer doesn't hit this one out, we're likely going to extras. Yainer Diaz does that. But Framber Valdez was 83 total pitches thrown in 9 full innings. Not only was that great for himself, but saved the bullpen. Ryan Gusto gave you nothing last night. We had to go to the bullpen. We went to Cesar Salazar last night. We didn't want to rip through all these bullpen arms. Framber Valdez not only has great stats for himself and great stats for his team, but for his bullpen too. They will thank him tomorrow. If they need to bring in the bullpen tomorrow in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, you got Brian Abreu on a full day's rest. You got Josh Hader on a full day's rest. Brian King on a much-needed rest. You might need that tomorrow. If this game is as close as it was tomorrow, or as it was tonight, tomorrow, you might need those bullpen guys. And Framber Valdez did a phenomenal job.
And you mentioned the game before, and the reason why we feel it's important that you look at that is because of the long baseball season. Unlike any other sport on this planet, 162 games, everything is cause and effect. So when you have a bullpen night where you got position players coming in, and not only was it that they used the bullpen, they got tagged, they got lit up, they got obliterated for all intents and purposes. And I know, Brian King gave up the most runs by himself, 5, and then there was 5 runs between, I believe, Whitley and was it Ort. And so that was the 10 runs that they scored. But you absolutely needed Framber. But by today's standards, Framber going the distance is like 7 innings or getting into the 8th. Look, going into the 9th,
6 1/3 or something like that.
Right. And
throwing a lot.
And even with his efficiency, you always ask yourself, well, does he have the 9th? Because you never know how coaches are thinking. And Framber hasn't done anything or extended himself so much. You're like, oh, this is going to be his 5th game with 100+ pitches. He goes out there and does almost, that's what they call throwing a Maddox, because it was less than 90 pitches. It wasn't a shutout, but it was the 1 run he gave up. And his stuff was just excellent. And there were a couple times where Yainer Diaz had to pick him up because Yainer let a couple runners advance. One of the guys that advanced a second on a drop ball, he ended up throwing him out at third base, even after the review. So there was a lot of redemption here. You had times where the Astros did get guys in scoring position, and runners in scoring position for this team has been something that has been a concern, not just for this year, Trevor, but I think in recent memory. They had 7 hits tonight. And what's funny is they had 3 runners in scoring position. They did get one of them home, which was good, but they did leave 4 on base. They didn't have a ton of opportunities, although they had a lot of hits. There was the 1 double and the 1 home run. So out of their 7 hits, only 2 were extra base hits. So that's especially awesome because then Framber still does his job. And It is a mental game. And especially with Framber, and talk about this, that is where I am always most worried about Valdez. It has nothing to do with his stuff or his talent. It's when he breaks down here mentally. And, you and I were both commenting on the playback. If I was Framber, I'd go in the dugout and throw bats and I'd be cussing at people. And Framber just has to keep his cool. But that right there, Trevor, if we are going to keep him, if he does stay in an Astros uniform, if he's not going to get traded, all that stuff, that's the kind of Framber you want. Now, I don't think he's going to get the contract he thinks he's going to get, but if the Astros make him a sizable offer and he stays here, you've got a guy that can solidify himself in Astros folklore.
No, and look at this rotation right now, all the injuries that are going on, but you're still getting these miraculous stats out of Josh Miller's pitching lab. You need Framber. There is no way that this team trades Framber Valdez at the deadline this year because, number one, who are you going to get in return? Number two, you want to go to the playoffs. Who's going to start in game 1 of the ALCS? Who's going to start game 2? Who's going to start game 1 of the wild card? God forbid you guys go there, right? I mean, you want to see Hunter Brown and Framber. If it's a 2-game series, you want to see those guys 1-2. I think that should be out of the question. Framber Valdez, though, you mentioned throwing a Maddox. I thought that was what Shane Baz was going to do last night, looking at how the offense was. And then, of course, they come back down 3-0. And I did mention this on the playback too, Brett. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you feel more comfortable with the Astros coming back down 3-0. And sometimes being down 1-0 feels insurmountable. I don't know what it is about this team, but you know what? You had a couple opportunities like you mentioned. I mean, they left 4 guys on base. One of them was Cam Smith with runners at first and second with 2 outs, staring at 92 down the plate. He is a rookie. He will get better, and he has been hitting the ball great. And that 311 batting average with runners in scoring position, I think that's only going to go up for him. He just ran into a tough pitch there on the corner. But then Jake Myers, leadoff double. What did I say during the broadcast? I said, we need an extra base hit here. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
You got it.
Right into the left field, right into the left field gap. He gets down with a double, and they don't ask how, they ask how many. I don't care. That was a base hit and a throwing error. Whatever ties the game happens, and then Yainer's going to do his thing in the bottom of the ninth. It's tough to win games in this league. You know it. These Rays
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you win them. I mean, we had our rally caps on.
We
had
did.
The bat glove. We had the bats. We had it all. But listen, we're going to come back here in a second, and we're going to talk about the offense coming through. Yainer Diaz getting another walk-off victory at Dyken Park. I've actually been there when he's walked it off before, and we'll talk about that. And then we will also look ahead to the pitching matchups for these next two games here after these messages. What's up, everybody? FanDuel is the place that you got to go. It is America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and the finals are almost decided. You have one of the last series left before you get to the opponent of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and you don't want to miss any moments. Why? Because you can show up big time with bets on same-game parlays, performance trends, winning big with big moments, whether it's the tip-off to the game-winning shot. It doesn't matter. Why? Because if you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. You head to FanDuel.com, you place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. So go check it out. Sign up for FanDuel.com. Let them know that Locked On sent you. Go to FanDuel.com. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's official sports betting partner of the NBA. You know, we are back, and thank y'all for tuning in. I'm Htown Wheelhouse. I can tell you that between myself and Eric, my other main co-host, we have 16 years of podcasting experience. Trevor here, who joins us from time to time, is actually on the radio up in Buffalo, and he does work not only in his local town or his local university, called games before, and he's a former lacrosse star, high school lacrosse star. Tell us about your Bandits. They just won tell us about the championship they just won.
So for those that don't know, there's this league that might be a little underground to those in the Houston area, the National Lacrosse League, indoor lacrosse. The Buffalo Bandits, my Buffalo Bandits, have won their third straight title. They're the undisputed league-leading 7-time champs in the league now. Last Saturday, they beat the Saskatchewan Rush in Game 3, 15-6 to clinch their 7th title and third straight. If you guys have not checked out the National Lacrosse League, they're all over ESPN+. I promise you, if you want to see physical sports, you want to see music playing the whole time, goal horns going off, announcers going crazy, balls being thrown into the back of the net, look up the National Lacrosse League on ESPN+. Watch some highlights of the Buffalo Bandits.
And if you watch the Buffalo Bandits, you may actually catch Trevor and Jake Hauer in the stands going bananas. You and your brother have made it on the tube several times.
No, we have, in our masks. I wear the ghost face mask to the games. He wears the jigsaw mask. We were all over ESPN+. It was nuts. So, you know, I couldn't be more proud of the guys. They had their championship parade today all throughout the downtown Buffalo area. I need Houston to get an NLL team, or you guys all need to jump on the Bandits bandwagon with me. We can all come to a game together next season where they're going to be fighting for their four-peat.
We had a fan come down. Ricardo flew down. He's from Puerto Rico. He's a Columbia University professor. Flew down for the Locked On Astros group night at the Astros game. Maybe we can get about 30 Texans to come up to the Buffalo Bandits and just become a part of the Buffalo Bandits Mafia, right?
If you want a good time, I suggest that you do that. Except the only thing about Buffalo is you can't fly direct anywhere there. So expect really, really long layovers flying back to Houston, either Chicago, O'Hare, or Charlotte. That's the only thing that kind of sucks about flying from Buffalo to Houston, but it's worth it if the Buffalo Bandits win.
It's worth it.
Yep.
Well, hey, let's get to Diaz. Diaz was 2 for 4 tonight, hitting a lot better. He's hitting 241 now on the young season. He has, I say young season, we're past the quarter mark, but he has 7 home runs. And when you look at his monthly splits in May right now, he's hitting 295 with a 343 on base percentage, 484 slug. And in May alone, he has 5 home runs. So he has really heated up here in this month. You love to see it. And it just seemed like the perfect scenario. The guy who caught the pitcher who had gone 9 innings and thrown a complete game, rewarding him with, hey, you know what, pitch? I got your back. I got your back, Framber. And he goes up there and he hits a tank. And I remember as he was getting up to bat, you're like, hey, get the bat. I've got the Yainer Diaz game-used bat over here.
With the pine tar.
Yeah, with the pine tar autographed and everything. And I was like, you know what? I'll get it in a second. And then right when I said that, he hit the home run on that pitch. It was gone. And you need Yainer Diaz to hit well because Victor Caratini has hit well. And the last thing you want is your starting catcher losing his confidence or thinking that he's losing his place to Caratini. I'll talk on this here in a second. I want to get your take on this. Whenever Yainer was here with Maldonado, there was a lot of talk, a lot of people speculating, there was a Maldi camp and a Yainer camp. Actually, Yainer Diaz himself told us in person, him and his agent both at the time said that it was like a professor-student type relationship. He very much respected him. And I think a lot of the same goes on with Caratini because Caratini has a few more years than Diaz. And I think they have a solid working relationship where they build each other up. And that's good that you have 2 top 30 catchers on one squad.
And they work better running a tandem. I mean, you don't want Yainer to be overtaxed back there. I mean, we've seen what an overtaxed Yainer kind of looks like. That's a lot of strikeouts, a lot of passed balls. It's very ugly. Victor Caratini brings that experience as well. And not only when you split them as a tandem, do they have, they can put the bat on the ball. They also get clutch hits. Go back to the, I can't call them Oakland now. Go back to the Htown A's of Las Vegas game where Caratini hits the bases loaded single to score 2 runs. Clutch. Look at tonight. Yainer Diaz, and not only a clutch walk-off home run, but if you remember during our broadcast, I was saying this guy is calling all of Framber's pitches in the top of the 9th. He can't catch a ball. And then right after saying that, he guns a runner down, hits a walk-off homer. So Yainer Diaz's ability to bounce back in the game, his strength between the eyes is so strong.
And, it is. And that's key, and that is a good thing because we talked about in the first segment about Framber's, mental, I guess his not being so strong mentally. We know his record of, going off the game plan.
Yep.
But Yainer Diaz as a catcher, you're pretty much the quarterback on the team. You're the guy that's looked to, and at the end of the day, whether you miss that ball or not, it's just like I tell my young players, whether it's basketball, baseball, volleyball, whatever it is, the play that you're currently in is the most important. The next ball that you're going to get is the most important. It doesn't matter what happened, last inning. Doesn't matter what happened last play. As long as you capitalize on, you move past your mistakes and you just keep moving forward. And that's what this team has to do because now all of a sudden, the talk that was early on with the Astros in the national media was, it looks like they're coming to the end. Now everybody, Ken Rosenthal, they're all like, well, the Astros aren't going away anytime soon. And I'm like, we tried to tell y'all that. Now, do I think that this team is a world-beating, World Series winning team right now? I don't, realistically, I don't think they are. But what happens when you get to the playoffs? All bets are off. And I always go back to the 2 World Series that we lost because those 2 teams, nobody expected them to win.
Yep.
So all you have to do is get there. And I know the Yankees are hot. I know the Tigers are the best team, quote unquote, in baseball. They got the best record. But when you get to the playoffs, it's all about who's been there, done that. And they still have more. They have less tread on their tire because they've been there more.
And a couple of things coming off of that. First of all, the Yainer Diaz point. Early on in the game, first pitch swinging, flying out every single time, right? Dropping balls in the 9th. Then he gets the runner out. He is the George Springer of the catcher position. If you remember game 5, he's diving for that ball in center field, misses it, runner scores. It's 8-7. Very next pitch, Springer ties the game. Yainer Diaz does the same exact thing. Because you want to know why? Because Springer and Diaz are very, very strong between the eyes. They're very, very mentally strong. The other point on that, we saw the Tigers look a lot like the Orioles from the past 2 years. You can have all these flashy stats in the regular season. Can you bring it in the postseason? That is where the 2022 Astros were so dominant. And who knows, maybe the Astros could be taking something out of the playbook of maybe the 21 Braves, where you're kind of hanging around mid-tier, and then towards the end of the year, you get hot, go into the playoffs and do some damage there. You never know what you're going to get. 19, we saw it. 21, we saw it firsthand. 22, game 1, we saw that. Blowing a 5-0 lead in game 1 of the World Series. We're like, oh, here come the gritty fills. This is a recipe for disaster. NL East team getting hot at the right time. It's a recipe for disaster. Obviously, I mean, they were the best team in baseball. Nobody was beating the Thor.
That's right.
Beat the 22 Astros that year. So it was just so good. I think it is a little early, though. I'll wait till the All-Star break to get a real good evaluation of where this team is going to be at the end of the year. I mean, even last year, the All-Star break, the Astros weren't in a playoff spot. They weren't. I don't even think
they weren't. They were crawling out of the base.
2 games? Were they 2 games out? Were they?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were still kind of crawling out of the basement. Then they had a really good end of the year. So I mean, that was big. But yeah, I'll give it till then. But right now, half a game back of the Mariners. I saw the Mariners were up big early on.
Yeah, they were up big early. But hey, real quick, in our last segment, we're going to close things out talking about who's up next: Colton Gordon and Hunter Brown. All right, thank y'all for tuning in to Locked On Astros. I'm Htown Wheelhouse, half of the Locked On Astros team, with myself and Eric the Man Huysman. And tonight, our guest co-host is Trevor Hauer, the man, the Buffalo kid, who is an extraordinarily fanatical Astros fan. He is a big Buffalo Bandits fan. Congratulations to the Bandits for winning back-to-back lacrosse championships. I mean, they are basically the Chicago Bulls of the lacrosse league. We'll just leave it at that. So Colton Gordon, Hunter Brown, I like our chances. In the next 3 to 4 minutes, let's break this down real quickly. Colton Gordon did well against the Rays the first time. Hunter Brown ran into some bad luck, didn't do great just because I think he was in a Little League ballpark. He didn't pitch terrible, but I do believe that you see Colton Gordon come out and replicate what he did in Tampa. Hunter Brown be a lot more focused here at home. I think it's easy to say that the Astros winning these next 2 games and winning 3 of 4 is not that far-fetched, Trev.
It's not far-fetched at all. And considering the fact that you look at the 2 teams on deck, you got Pittsburgh, who's on deck, which almost kind of feels like a trap series to me. I know the Astros, they don't play their best ball at PNC, but you never know what you're going to get there. So winning this series is, or at least splitting, should be a main priority. You cannot lose this series. They do play well in Cleveland. That's who they have on deck. They play very well at Progressive Field over the past few years. So Colton Gordon already knows what it feels like to beat the Rays once at that Little League park over there, George Steinbrenner Field. He's got a lot more room to work with now at Minute Maid, or Daikin Park now. I always mess that up. Yeah, Colton Gordon knows what it feels like to win against those guys. Also, I mean, let's be real. The Tampa Bay Rays struggle against pitchers like Colton Gordon, pitchers that they haven't really seen before, and pitchers that don't have a lot of film on them. That's where the Rays really struggle. And we also kind of saw tonight, the Rays also struggle against left-handed pitching. And Framber went a full game against them. So if we're going to play off of those odds, Colton Gordon should have a pretty darn good game. Hunter Brown is going to be coming in angry. We all know what it looks like when Hunter Brown pitches, whether he gets a cruddy call behind the plate or something, and he's just throwing angry ball. He's going to be out for revenge against the Rays coming up on Sunday. So I really
definitely. And we've seen when Diesel reaches back and just throws gas on the mound. He's a dog.
He is a dog. Very, very Verlander-esque. And also, we haven't seen Isaac Paredes light up yet against his former team at home. He is overdue for a big fly or two in this series.
You know, and the Astros almost had like 2 or 3 of them tonight. They're just out in front of that changeup.
Home run distance. Cam Smith hit one just to the left of the foul pole.
Yeah.
Isaac Paredes hit one train track distance, just pulled it foul. We all know about his pull numbers. He is due. The offense is due for an explosion. You scored 3 last night. You scored 2 tonight. I like our odds. Colton Gordon, young and flashy, up-and-coming pitcher. We all know what Hunter Brown is. Hunter Brown should be in conversation for AL Cy Young. I mean, that goes
definitely him and Scooble. I mean, look, I think the only thing that keeps Hunter out of there is if Scooble keeps throwing 103-mile-an-hour pitches into the 8th and 9th inning and the Tigers keep winning. I mean, I think those guys could be 1 and 1A. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If you remember the famous Cy Young debate of when Justin Verlander won, but it really could have easily gone to, Garrett Cole.
Yep.
I think these two guys are about as close as it comes. Some people would say Scooble has the edge. But at the end of the day, it's about the whole body of work. And what I love is Hunter Brown is competing for the victory in the game that he's playing. He's not worried about the awards like we are. But tomorrow's Colton Gordon is going. Someone asked who is pitching tomorrow. Colton Gordon is being opposed by
Jack Littell.
There you go, Jack Littell, who we actually faced in Tampa last time. And
Zach Littell's rocking a 4-5 record with a 4 ERA.
Okay.
Very, very similar numbers to the pitcher Pep Biot that we saw tonight.
And then the same matchup you and I both called when it said Taj Bradley.
Yep.
I thought we were going to light him up.
Taj Koufax. Koufax.
Yeah. I'm hoping we light up Taj Bradley, but Hunter Brown 7-3. You got to love that. So
I will say this though, Brett. You know what? Yes. You know what feels good about tonight's game? Not being on the other end of the 10-run curse. The 10-run curse affected the Tampa Bay Rays tonight.
Yes.
You know how good that feels? They scored 13 the night before. They were held to 1, and that was just in the first inning. Is that not the most 10-run curse you've ever seen in your life?
That was insane, and I'm so glad that that's not a thing anymore. But hey, man. This has been a great show. Thank you for jumping on. This was kind of a spur of the moment thing. We figured we'd come on. 148 of y'all watch, and we appreciate it. Again, if you listen to us by audio, you've got to catch us. You've got to turn on the notifications. You got to subscribe. We are so close. We're less than 100 away from 14,000 subscribers.
Subscribe now. YouTube. What are you guys doing?
Yeah. So we need all the likes. We got 152 of y'all watching. I need 152 likes minimum. Y'all have a good one, everybody. Trev, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
It. Yeah, man. Anytime. I know the people love having you. This has been another great show, another great Astros victory. And our guy, Yainer Diaz, who does the intro for us. Thank you, sir. Congratulations to you. For myself, Eric Huysman, and Trevor, the Buffalo Kid Hauer, we are your team every single day.
Go Astros.
There we go.
Somewhere in the heavens, I know Steve Irwin is smiling about the Rays' loss tonight.
That's right. Steve Irwin's like, crikey,
mate.